despite the protestation of African heads of state to the contrary, when they are summoned to all these meetings that they go to, they are summoned to Washington to be told what to do. They are summoned to Sochi to be told what to do.
There is a political trend that is being accepted by African heads of state and government, where one country convenes all 54 heads of African states and government. The United States of America, France, China, Russia, and United Kingdom convene all 54 heads of states and government for a meeting, and they all go following each other like Casey and Jojo. Not all these actions are revolutionary, because we must be careful of French-sponsored coups in Africa, where we think there is a revolution taking place in Guinea-Conakry, only to find that there is a French puppet who seeks to replace those who were there before. There is nothing revolutionary about the Guinea-Conakry coup. We ought to separate that there can never be a revolutionary coup that reinforces French imperialism on African soil. Anyone who comes into political office under the pretext that they are fighting a French puppet, while knowing they are the French puppet themselves, must be isolated by progressive Pan-Africanists. All French soldiers and military must leave the African continent, and this also should apply to neo-colonial military bases, including the African Command Center of the USA. We don't want the army of America, we don't want the army of France here, we don't want the army of anyone. We want African army on African soil. The Pan-Africanist Institute should therefore provide ideological, political, and technical weapons to all progressive forces of the African continent to fight against colonialism. There is a political trend that is being accepted by African heads of state and government, where one country convenes all 54 heads of African states and government. The United States of America, France, China, Russia, and United Kingdom convene all 54 heads of states and government for a meeting, and they all go following each other like Casey and Jojo as heads of states to listen to one head of state, 51 of them. Sometimes they disrespect them to a point where they put all 54 heads of states of Africa in a school bus to go and listen to one head of state. What happened to these men? Because all of them, majority of them are men. What happened to these fathers who go and bow combined to one man? Even if it's Putin, why would they all follow each other and go and listen to one person? What happened to their dignity and their authority as leadership? They must have leadership qualities to know that Putin is equal to them, that China is equal to their own single country, irrespective of their size, because what matters is sovereignty. And if China recognizes that sovereignty, will respect the president of that sovereign country as an individual. Comrade Kwame Nkrumah noticed this when he said that neocolonialism also means the following: breaking up former large united colonial territories into a number of small non-viable states incapable of independent development. An external directed economic system and political policy, the state being obligated to take the manufactured products of the imperialist power to the exclusion of competing products from elsewhere. Payments towards the cost of running the state to ensure control over government policies, and foreign capital is used for the exploitation rather than the development of less developed regions. Governor, on my way here, we saw how the people here are working the land. We saw that there is no piece of land here that is not being utilized to the benefit of our people. But the question remains, where do these people sell these things? Because they can't consume all of them. Yes, they must produce to feed themselves and feed the whole Kenya and feed the continent and the world. Is the government buying food that is produced fresh from this soil, or do we have companies that are owned by white people in Nairobi who bring finished products into the land that has got products that can be bought directly from our own people? We say people must work the land. After they work the land, their own governments in Africa do not procure from those people. Because if it does not have a white color, they don't like it. Our leaders like their colonizers more than us. That's why they always seek after anything that looks like colonizers.
We appeared to regain political independence, but the most important thing that can undergird that political independence is economic independence, which we don't have in many African countries. That is why sanctions work very effectively against African countries. A country like Zimbabwe, laboring under sanctions. Right now, we see South Africa being threatened with sanctions because our economies are shadow economies that are controlled from Washington, D.C., or from Paris, or from Lisbon, or from London. We must cut that umbilical cord. If we don't, as the saying goes, the puppeteer will continue to control the puppet. And that is why very easily Africa must do what others have done. Energy. You must generate enough energy or sufficient energy to industrialize. Value addition. We must stop the brain drain. Some of our best men and women are outside. We must be in the nuclear age. We must be in the artificial intelligence age. As I speak to you now, we don't control technology. Twitter. All these, the internet, we don't. It is controlled from elsewhere. The experience of others tells us why China is what China is, why Japan is what she is, why Korea is what she is, why Vietnam is now becoming what it is becoming, is because they said in order to be in a position to completely realize sustainable development, we must control the levers of development. If we don't, then we will be controlled and manipulated. We are colonized. If anybody ever doubted that, that is why. And Kwame Nkrumah was ahead of his times in this regard. When in 1965, he wrote the book Neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism and the most dangerous, he recognized that if you don't have economic independence, then you will be controlled and you will be manipulated. There is a great Korean economist, Ha-Jun Chang, who has written a book called The Bad Samaritans. He tells us those who are donors, they call themselves donors and development partners, those are bad Samaritans. They prescribe poison for you while they eat nectar and honey. And Dambisa Moyo, the young Zambian economist, has told us why aid is a dangerous thing. So the colonization and the burden under which we labor today is very subtle colonization. Sometimes it's not even so subtle. Remember, the French, for example, still controlled the currency of their former colonies. Remember that the organizations which are created in the post-colonial era are designed to achieve that very thing. So we are still colonized. And our presidents sometimes are merely doing the bidding of the colonizers. It's never lost on me, for example, in the United Kingdom, and I have never understood this. When we are approaching an election, the leading presidential candidates are invited to a place called Chatham, and they are debating. It happened with Kenya in the run-up to the elections in 2022. It happened in Nigeria. I hope it will not happen in the case of Ghana and in the case of Zimbabwe. But it is a statement. You young boys, you are going to engage in what in our mind is essentially the appointment of a school head prefect or head girl. We want to assess how you debate and how you will behave when you ultimately become the head boy and the head girl. They don't say it in such crude terms, but I believe that that is what it is all about. Then they invite you to a program called Hard Talk to ask you difficult questions to see whether you can withstand. We are still colonized. It's painful.
There you have it, guys. Julius Malema is usually full of these revolutionary speeches. Sometimes you wonder where he gets them from. But whatever the case is, we really hope that his wisdom transcends, and really contributes to the development of Africa and in helping solving Africa's really myriad of challenges. But what do you guys think about his speech? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe, because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.